Epictetus summarizes our best relationship to fate in his handbook. He says, "Do not seek to have events happen to you as you want them to, but instead want them to happen as they do happen, and your life will go well." And to repeat myself, the Stoics are not promoting apathy, indifference, and resignation. Their variety of non-attachment comes from a very engaged place. We're not being told to shrug like a recalcitrant teenager. The Stoics were movers and shakers. The key is to remember that game of tennis. You still try to the best of your abilities. You play as well as you can. That realm of your thoughts and actions is under your control and you are in charge. Whatever your role is, parent, sibling, citizen, worker, role model, president, you can do that thing in an exemplary fashion. Be the best you can be at what you are. Engage, inspire. Where there is injustice, and where it is under your control to make a difference, use your abilities to create change. But don't ultimately emotionally commit yourself to the outcome. That's out of your hands. You are not playing to necessarily win. You're just playing as well as you possibly can. Marcus, one of the most powerful men and beloved rulers in history, writes to himself, "Do your best to convince them, but act on your own, if justice requires it. If met with force, then fall back on acceptance and peaceability. Use the setback to practice other virtues. Remember that our efforts are subject to circumstances. You weren't aiming at the impossible." Aiming to do what then? To try. And you succeeded. What you set out to do is accomplished. Marcus fought long, bloody battles against the Germanic tribes during his time as emperor. He was not in a position to merely let the world's events wash over him and his empire in a spirit of grand, philosophical laissez-faire. But he tells us that when it comes to securing change in the world, we should only aim to try our best. All else is folly. So although he may have added a practical qualification to Epictetus's formula, reminding us that we can still try to make changes in the world, he would have agreed with its spirit. Don't aim to achieve things out with your control. Once that standpoint is secure, you can fight for the causes you champion if it seems just to do so, but you will not be so attached to the outcome as to either jeopardize your tactics or be devastated if you fail. We can only guarantee success in trying our best. The desired outcome in the world may prove impossible, but having succeeded in our private aims, we won't be ruined by a feeling of crushing failure. The result we're aiming for has moved into our sphere of control. We aim to do our utmost, and therefore we are more likely to arrive at a pleasing outcome. And real-world success is also more likely, as we will not be hampered by the anxiety that comes from trying to control what we cannot. The Stoic stance brings a uniquely quiet, persistent resoluteness in the face of adversity. This is a brilliant bit of thinking. We can aim high, seek to change the world, yet always be satisfied with the outcome. The Stoics have taken the reclusive Epicurean instruction to desire only what you already have, and allowed it to be active, engaged, and vital. The instruction of the Epicureans was to relax and not bother with engagement. Keep your desires natural and simple, and cut yourself off. It's appealing, but a little lazy. In order to live, its followers needed to ask for handouts from the very society they shunned. The Stoics, on the other hand, tell us to be on our guard against unhelpful attachments, against too high expectations. With this armor in place, they send us out into the world to do our best. What an extraordinary suggestion for life. Rein in your aims. It plays against every goal-setting, positive thinking, believe in yourself and you can achieve anything mantra of modern life. We have to keep reminding ourselves that it isn't a recipe for motionless complacency. Yet, with such modest expectations, we can still change the world. We do not need to fool ourselves into believing that we have control over uncontrollable fortune to go about trying to improve it. Some people combine too high expectations with a tendency to catastrophize. This amounts to feeling horrified at the fact that one's impracticable and distorted vision has not been realized. This is what happens when we see events as a nightmare, a constant struggle. Necessity, meanwhile, continues, and these people are dragged along like a reluctant dog behind a cart. In the image offered by the great early Stoics, Zeno and Chrysippus, we have two choices: to pull and struggle against the rope and try and go in another direction, or to acknowledge the direction this cart is taking us and stop causing ourselves so much pain. Of course, the cart will sometimes need diverting. At that point, Martha Nussbaum's transition, which I described previously, must come into play, the channeling of unhelpful anger into a constructive means of advocating change. But aside from rare cases of true injustice, when we must move from anger to ensuring progress, we can be assured that most of our fuming and moaning is just that, noise. It's neither pleasant to listen to nor convincing. It's a symptom of gross self-orientation, of egocentricity. It may not come naturally in the moment, but our aim should be to abnegate this bloated, boorish self and move towards our apparent aggressor. Lowering our expectations of the people around us is not to live at their whim and let them get away with anything. It is to stop obtruding our stories and priorities upon those of others and then whining when they don't match up. Anger is just proof of how unrealistic your expectations were.